Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. You're watching ID Mind Media Radio and Television with the show Political Lab. This is your humble host, Comrade Fritz Misodi. Today we're going to talk about TPS, how TPS has been made to terminate on August 3rd, according to the news from the Department of Homeland Security. We hear that the Trump administration has finally given a date. We are talking about Cameroon, TPS for Cameroon, a country that has been entangled in a war for the past 9 years, and the United Nations call it one of the most neglected crises in the world. But in a move that has drawn criticism from human rights group, the United States has announced it is ending the temporary protective status, the TPS, for Cameroonians living in the United States soil. The TPS is a humanitarian provision that we know that has helped many Cameroonians and Southern Cameroonians fleeing from the war in Amazonia, and the U.S. offered this humanitarian provision to protect foreign nationals from returning to their country in crisis. And yet, despite the continuing violence, we see that the Department of Homeland Security has concluded that the Cameroon no longer qualifies for TPS, but due to the situation, they said, due to the situation in Cameroon, but which is not the case, because we know that the United Nations has said that this is the most neglected crisis, and the BBC just reported in their article about this same neglect. Okay, and you can see this is the article by BBC. This article was written just yesterday. Okay, they say Cameroon is now the world's most neglected displacement crisis, new report finds. So I don't know why the Department of Homeland Security will terminate TPS for Cameroon or Southern Cameroon, Amazonia, when the BBC is reporting that the situation is getting worse. Okay, we want to make sure that we're gonna continue writing the Department of Homeland Security, Christine Yom, who is the Homeland Security Secretary, to let her understand the condition that she said is improved. Okay, we just saw it on the website of the Department of Homeland Security that they announced that the TPS for Cameroon will expire on June 3rd, 2025. This follows a 60-day grace period meant to allow beneficiaries to prepare for departure. Okay, the Homeland Security Secretary Christine Yom cited improved conditions in Cameroon as justification for ending the program. But what we know from human rights group says the reality on the ground tells a different story. The BBC has obtained documents from Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch that detail continued arbitrary detention, military abuses, and the attacks on civilians in the Cameroon, Amazonia region. This is not what we are doubting, because we know that the war is ongoing. So it's quite ironic that while the BBC reports the Cameroon conflict as the world most neglected, TPS is being cancelled. I think this is more controversial. Okay, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security announced this extension of a temporary protection status for Cameroonian until August 3rd. So we know that they are extending it. It was supposed to end on this June 7th. So they are extending it to August, which is a 60-day grace period meant to allow anybody in, having the status, because we know both Cameroonians and Southern Cameroonians are benefiting from it, because the war is between the two countries. So they are benefiting from this grace period. So what we know is that the decision the department stated on its website follows a review of current conditions in Cameroon and Southern Cameroon and consultation with the interagency partners. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Christine Nyom, made it clear that the situation no longer meets, according to what they say, no longer meets the legal criteria to warrant continued temporary protected status designation. TPS holders from Cameroon now have until August to prepare for the program's termination. The DHS has advised those affected to consider voluntary departure and use the CBP-1 mobile app for official reporting and assistance. This move marks the end of TPS protection for Cameroonians after DHS determined that the circumstances that initially justified the designation have sufficiently changed. This is coming from the website, and we are saying that there are reasons why we think the Ambazonian war that is ongoing needs TPS for Southern Cameroonians in particular. But since it's a war between Cameroon and Southern Cameroonian, they both are benefiting from this largesse by the American government. One, the fact that the war is ongoing, and the BBC just reported it. Okay, we cannot end TPS for people who are still witnessing war. Okay, that is why the Biden administration even started the TPS in the first place. Okay, we see that civilians are caught in crossfire with widespread killings going on, arbitrary arrests by the Cameroon military, and destruction of homes. Okay, these conditions meet TPS criteria for ongoing armed conflict, making safe return impossible. Okay. Secondly, the mass displacement and humanitarian crisis going on. There are still refugees, thousands of refugees in neighboring Nigeria. Okay, over 2 million people have been internally displaced or forced to flee. They are or forced to flee to other countries. These are conditions that we are saying that needs humanitarian protection for all Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians. Okay, and we are hoping that the Department of Homeland Security will reconsider Cameroon for TPS, because Cameroon was given this because they were in war the same time with Ukraine. So we're hoping that the US government is going to reconsider the people of Southern Cameroon who are facing the war in the first place. The war is being fought in Amazonia, and the Amazonian people are directly affected. The people of Southern Cameroon are directly affected. That is why when you see the people who are more displaced, 2 million people that have internally been displaced and forced to flee across the borders, are Southern Cameroonians. They are not Cameroonians. And the basic necessities such as food, shelter, and healthcare are in critical shortage in Southern Cameroon and Amazonia. So the humanitarian infrastructure is overwhelmed with limited access to aid in conflict zones in Amazonia. So we are hoping that the United Nations will consider this fact, and because returning individuals to this environment will place them at extreme risk. Majority of the people that might be sent back to Cameroon and Amazonia will not go back to their houses. They will either end up going to other countries. Okay, so the United States should consider this because the war is ongoing. Okay, imagine Another aspect that we have a state-sponsored repression, the human rights abuses in Cameroon going on, the dictatorial government of Paul Biya that has been in power for 43 years, the torture. We hear that they have opened torture chambers in Bamenda and Boya. We are still trying to figure out the locations of these torture chambers that they have opened in Boya and Bamenda, that they carry people there, they arbitrarily detain them. There is extrajudicial killings by these security forces of Cameroon. The government crackdown, particularly targeting perceived oppositions of all they call them separatists, including even diasporans who are returning. So yeah, let me call you back. So diaspora, sorry for that interruption. So the diasporans that are returning are also being arrested. You know of the case of our brother who Chris Ajua, who came from the United States and went to Cameroon for a visit, and he was arrested. He committed no crime. He has no crime in USA. He has no crime in Cameroon. He was arrested because he's a Ambazonian. Okay, so because the government cracked down on these targets and the returning diaspora members, TPS will protect Cameroonians in the US from returning to such danger. Okay, we're hoping that the US government will consider all these aspects. Okay, the fact that the English-speaking minority of Ambazonia are being targeted. They are the ethnic minority. The political activists, the journalists are very, very vulnerable. Most of us in the diaspora cannot go back to Cameroon because they will target you, okay, for being activists, for being somebody who wants justice, okay, for being somebody who speaks truth to power, okay. They don't like such people. That's why the asylum and TPS are very important for the people of Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon in particular, because they are the endangered species in that country. The Cameroon government targets all Ambazonian irrespective of your belief. You can be targeted because of your ethnic and political belief. That is the main reason why the international community brought in asylum, and America also brought in temporary protection, because asylum sometimes takes long, okay, and it's very cumbersome sometimes. So TPS comes in to help, so that those people who are just coming in can have something doing, can start working while waiting for situations to get better back in their country. Okay, so the TPS is very necessary to safeguard all these vulnerable Ambazonian groups, Ambazonian people, from being targeted by the Cameroon regime. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, the fact that there is inadequate condition for safe reintegration is an issue where the Cameroon government does not have any platform, or it's not ready for negotiation. Okay, because what we are saying is that any conflict, any war, any crisis cannot end without negotiation. So the Cameroon government cannot start telling the world that things are going back to normal when there is no proper set of negotiation process that have to make sure that they put in place a functioning reintegration program for returnees, for refugees. What if you say things are going back to normal, but refugees are still in Nigeria? You say things are going back to normal, but you still have your military who are being killed in in the battlefield. Things are going back to normal. You still have all the leaders being still in jail. They have been given life imprisonment, and most of them, the international community have asked the government of Cameroon to release all these people, the Naira 10 and all the other Taraba 39 that were illegally arrested and repatriated to Cameroon. I don't know if that's the word, repatriated, because they were kidnapped, because repatriation is a legal process. But when you are being kidnapped, means there's no legal process, because these are professors, these are doctors, these are engineers working in Nigeria. You cannot just go there and kidnap them. Some are even Nigerian citizens. You go and kidnap them and carry them to. There is no good way of describing this kind of situation, right? So when you have a situation where these armies have gone and destroyed schools, destroyed hospitals, and even the housing, the villages that were burned, the economy is severely weakened, okay, the high rate of unemployment and poverty within this Amazonian region, okay, because of the war. And you cannot just say, things are gone back to normal, okay. The justification by the U.S. Homeland Security by saying that the conditions is getting better, they have to understand that even the BBC just reported that the situation is going bad. Okay, so the TPS will allow the Cameroonians in the United States to live safely and support their families until conditions improve, because they cannot just say the war has ended when the war is ongoing and situations are gone back to normal, when the situations, war doesn't end and situations just get back to normal. There's a period of negotiation, there's a period where everything have to go into that way. So the Cameroon government is trying to play fast, okay? It's trying to play a fast one to the international community for them to think that, okay, things are gone back to normal, okay? How do you say you just go and see things are going back, then they trying to send the prime minister to go and start doing what they call reconstruction. There is no reconstruction without the war officially ending and the negotiation process begins, where you have everything being taken care of. Okay, there is much to do when it comes to the compensation, much to do when it comes to reconstruction. Okay, we cannot just go and start doing. In Bamenda, they said they're opening a gas plant. Okay, how is the gas plant going to help the local population in the first place? Because one, the reconstruction projects is something that will help to create jobs. Okay, in Kumba, they said they are trying to open a football stadium there, but the amount of money is nothing to open a football stadium. I heard the mayor of Kumba saying it, right? 500 million. You cannot open a stadium with 500 million. How much are these ministers stealing? How much are these ministers stealing that they cannot open football stadium? All these airports, everything. Yeah? All this infrastructure that they have destroyed along the years. They keep stealing money, then carrying some chicken change to come and fool the people of Southern Cameroon. We are not fools. The question is, are these development projects meant to genuinely uplift communities or pacify dissent without addressing root grievances? When you start doing things from, you don't want to solve the problem from the root causes. You are skipping the root causes, going to the left and right, trying to do things randomly. You are not solving the problem. You go and open military torture chambers in Bamenda and Boya. So our people have become that slave that you open torture chamber to torture them. You give somebody bread and you are still torturing them in your open torture chambers. How does reconciliation square with ongoing reports of human rights abuses? Our leaders are still in jail. There is selective justice. Naira 10, they are still in jail. Abdul Karim has just been given life imprisonment. So you are doing something, but you are not solving the problem. You are not solving the problem. Okay? You have to start from negotiation. That is how a conflict ends. That negotiation will give all the basis of how to resolve the conflict. Okay? You cannot give now the Nigerian parliament just held discussion about the Naira 10. We heard of Ntabo Mbeki talking about the AU delegation that was sent to Cameroon. Okay, now see, even the United States are trying to help our people through the TPS. And you ask, what is the Cameroon government and parliament? Are they trying to discuss this thing in their parliament? No. They have not tried to discuss anything. All parliamentarians or the senators that have tried to bring this case to the Cameroon parliament have been either killed or made to go to silent. What happened to Honorable Weber that brought this thing in the parliament? What happened to Senator Kemende that was killed? What happened to the vice chairman of SDF, Mbandam? What happened to Nijon Fruity? These people did not die a normal death. They were forcefully, silently being killed, like the likes of Ekema and so on and so forth. They did not want these people who are outspoken to discuss this thing in the parliament. They were made to either go on exile like Honorable Weber. Okay? There is selective justice. Our people have been arrested in southern Cameroon. Okay, of normal, we have the what we call the basic right for our people, which is the normal court of common law that our people know. They have been taken to Yaoundé of the civil law. These are all two different types of law. Then you expect that is just a normal thing. The Naira 10 are still languishing in the dungeons. Yes, they are still there. Nobody is talking about that, right? So it's okay for the Naira 10 to be in jail. Our people are still in refugee camps in Nigeria, and that is normal. But that is what we call selective justice, where they select people who are going to be locked up and they put them in prison because they are Ambazonians, they are Southern Cameroonians. They have opened torture chamber in Boya and Bamenda to torture our people. Yes, think about it. The lack of, or the slowness of the AU, as Ntabo Mbeki said. The question is, why has the African Union remained slow? Okay, despite the mounting evidence and cries from the ground. What does Mbeki's insight reveal about AU's complicity or failure within the crisis that has ravaged for more than 9 years counting? You cannot say you want to resolve a problem or you are African Union, but something is happening in Africa. You cannot resolve it. But you want the European Union will come. The European Union will come and say something about it. Other countries will come and say something about it. But the people in their own continent don't want to resolve the problem. Okay, they will stay silent. But that is the problem with our own Africa today. And when we see people like Ibrahim Traore rising today, we are happy, because those are the kind of leaders we want in Africa. Those people who stand for truth, who stand for justice. Those are the kind of people. Yeah, we join these people through a kind of forceful independence federal system without any treaty of union. No union treaty was there. Okay, so without any documented legal union, how do you call this legal? Can calls for unity be taken seriously? How do people reconcile with a state structure they feel they were imposed by the colonial power to stay with somebody who you don't want to stay with in this century? We still call it Njomba married, like our forebears call it. Molanjo Letumbe call it Njomba married. A marriage that was forced on the people of Southern Cameroon, and they want you to stay in that house, despite the mistreatment, the maltreatment, the all the torments, the mental disability that you go through in that house. They want you to stay in that house. That is because they pay your bride price, whereas they didn't even pay your bride price. They just force you to that husband as a wife. Then your parents will say stay there when it's a forceful marriage. Okay, that is the relationship we have with La Republic. Okay, then we are talking about what is the AU doing? Okay, and you see the maltreatment of fonds and chiefs when you know, contrasted with what you see in the francophone areas there, where they cannot treat the chiefs the way they treated our chiefs and fonds. Oh, you should go and march. You should stand. You go and march. Those are chiefs from villages with thousands of people in Fako region. But I saw in Chang, the one chief in Changdale that was hailed, young small guy like that. I'm like, look at how they are hailing their chiefs coming to the 20 May Boulevard. But our chiefs, they say they should go and be marching. No respect, no dignity. Okay, that is the kind of how the traditional leaders have become like a tool of marginalization. Okay, because they accept crumbs. Okay, they accept those crumbs from the La Republic government, and why their people are keep suffering from systematic neglect by the Cameroon government. What are you gonna say? If they give this chief something, they say, okay, take. They don't care about the people. They don't care. They don't care. So that's why we were talking about that issue of the TPS, that it is very, very important. Okay, that it should be reinstated so that we can have the people who are benefiting from it to keep benefiting from what they are benefiting, because taking it from them will not be nice. Okay, we hope that we hear of the government projects and all those kind of things that they are trying to do. In the PM went to Boya and saying that they went to Kumba about the Kumba Stadium thing. The money that they say they want to build a stadium, 500 million, That mayor even said that money cannot even build a grandstand. That's what that mayor was saying. 500 million can only build the small 2 grandstands. You know, that is why I said that if you marginalization or exploitation, it's not only people look at it only on one side. They don't look at all the other angles. When it comes to soccer, when it comes to football, Kumba, like many other cities around southern Cameroon, they have produced one of the best players. Okay, think of Tato Eta Steven, one of the top captains of the national team. You saw you saw the way Tato Eta Steven died, right? Tato Eta Steven was sick the same time that Son Bahana was sick, but Son Bahana was flown to France. Tato Eta Steven was dying in Kumba. Deep Akem Victor, all these players are from Kumba. Okay, but they have not even thought of building one single stadium in Kumba. The contribution that Southern Cameroon players have contributed, they cannot build one stadium. That's Kumba. No one single stadium. That is how they are killed. They have killed the professionalism of football, because if you saw back then, we were already playing. Southern Cameroon played match against China, played match against other African countries. We had a national team. Okay, so now they have systematically killed everything of us. We had a national team. Southern Cameroon had a national team playing international matches. So don't come and say whatever you want to say now, right? Because if we had our national team by now, we would have developed our infrastructure long ago. We have very, very good players. What our players are going through, even to have a club in certain areas, is so difficult. To even play in a national team, you go for the selection. We have good players who go selection. They don't pick them up because they have just, maybe they can pick 2 from Southern Cameroon. It means that the rest players' talents are being missing. Okay, when you have a national team, you have so many players that can show their talents, but because they cannot play, they will select 2 in a national team, but they still go and perform. Now we have that guy called Balemba. You have other one. There are so many players that they select still prove that they can play. Think of Agbo Hans. Think of all these other players that when they still prove that they have good players. Okay, but imagine that we had our own national team like before. Okay, so all these things are just things that go on to tell you that we have lost talent, we have lost stars just because our union with these people. Look at this. Look at the musicians today. All the best musicians are from Southern Cameroon. How many good musicians can you say today? All the young talents are from Southern Cameroon. So that is what we were talking about. We hope that the government of America will help to reinstate the TPS. This story about the immigration law, we are hoping that it will help with the TPS to reinstate it. The Department of Homeland Security said it will continue to monitor the situation in Cameroon. But for many, the loss of TPS could be a matter of life and death. So we recommend that most of our people who we heard that they have reopened the asylum applications. Those people who just came in within 1 year, you still have access to asylum. Because if you have been in America for 1 year, you can seek asylum within 1 year. So you have a justification to seek asylum because there is war in your country, political asylum. Okay, you have used justification to seek that. So please make sure you safeguard your stay in America, because it's very important. Okay, whatever you can do to safeguard your status, do it, because that's what makes you get your work permit to work in America. Okay, thank you for watching. Make sure you share. I know so many people have not subscribed to my channel. Please, if you are watching, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you comment, so that we shall be bringing more information as the days go by. Thank you for watching.